right, so today we're going to continue talking about SQL and databases. We'll do a basic CRUD demo. And there's no class on Wednesday and Friday because I'll be out of town, but we'll pick this back up Monday, a week from today, after we're done today. We talked about databases, how they're stored, how they store things in different tables. Here's another example of a this is called an ER diagram, an entity relation diagram. This is something that you'll eventually be producing or you'll be doing a sketch of for your design document. And it's a video game database. We've got a game table here, a platform table, a publisher table, and an availability table. The game table here has 3 columns: a game ID, a name, and a publisher ID. And if you look really close here, it has some symbols here to tell you what they are. It also tells you what they are as far as the types go. For example, the game ID, that is called a primary key. Remember that primary keys are how we uniquely identify elements in a table. And that little icon there is supposed to be a key, right? Red means it's a foreign key. Blue means that it's a non-key value. And then these are all filled in because they are required. If you look at another example down here, there's a diamond that's not filled in. That's optional, right? So you'll get the hang of these things as we go along. But let's look at the actual types here. The game ID is an integer, right? We want to make sure that all of our keys are integers because integers are precise. There's no, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 is not equal to 1, right? It's equal to 0.9999, right? And we don't want floating point numbers. We don't want varchars, which are strings, to be our keys either because we have casing issues, we have formatting issues, etc. The way that SQL does strings here is called a varchar. Varchar is short for variable character. And then the 255 beside it, that's the maximum number of characters it can have. So it could have 0 characters, that's an empty string. It could have up to 255 characters. If you inserted something that was 256 characters, it would either throw an error or it would truncate your data. It would take that extra character and then it would throw it away, keeping only the first 255. I could have made that 250. I could have made it 5. I could have made it 1,000, right? 255 is just an old school placeholder for I don't know, but that's big enough, right? If it's ever showed that it's not big enough, that you have a game out there with a title that is 300 characters long, then we'll talk and we'll go ahead and fix our database, right? That's weird, but whatever. So 255 is a usual placeholder there. Now, what are the relationships between these tables, right? There can be a one-to-many relationship. That is, there's one record in table A is related to multiple records in table B. And that's what we have here with the publisher and the game table. That's that's depicted here in in this edge right here between them. The left one is 1, even though it's these 2 Sheffer strokes or whatever you call them. And then we've got a true chicken foot over here, right? That's called a chicken foot. That there are 3 things out, that means many. So there's a one-to-many relationship between the publisher and the game. That is, one publisher could have published multiple games. One publisher could have published 0 games, and that still conforms to this schema here, this setup. That I just don't have any records yet. I haven't published anything. Now, in real life, you could have you could have a game that was worked on by multiple publishers. But that's not what I'm capturing here. That would be a different database and a different design, right? Then you have a many-to-one relationship. That's the exact same, but it's from the other perspective. If I went right to left here, from the game table to the publisher table, then that's a many-to-one relationship. It's just the reverse, right? We have a many-to-many relationship here where it joins 2 tables together. For example, one game can appear on multiple platforms. And hopefully one platform has multiple games, otherwise it's not worth buying, right? And that's realized here through the usual way of doing this is through what's called a join table, right? This availability has a reference to the platform table, platform ID here, and it has a reference to the game table, game ID right here. So it joins both of those 2 tables together, and so I have a many-to-many relationship now, right? Again, it could be 0. You can have a one-to-one relationship, but why, right? So if there's only one record over in this table and only one record in this table that are joined together, that are related, Why are they in separate tables, right? You should probably collapse that down into one table unless there's a very good reason to do so, right? And there's probably not a very good, there's probably an alternative way of doing that rather than a very good reason, right? Many reasons that I've seen in my life is that, nope, you should use a view for that instead, or nope, you should use this instead, etc. But if you can come up with a very good reason to convince me, please do, because I've never been convinced yet, right? Oh, it's for security. No. Oh, it's for efficiency. No, that doesn't work like that, right? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get started with a CRUD demonstration. CRUD is an acronym that you will see all over the place because it's almost universal. It stands for Create, Retrieve, Update, and Destroy. Those are the 4 basic operations that you can use with any data. If it's a data structure like a set, a list, or a map, or if it's a database like a table, those are the 4 things that you can do to it. You can create data in SQL by using an insert statement. You can retrieve data by using a select statement. You can update data. The only one that matches is the update keyword. And then you can destroy data using the delete command, right? Be careful when you're doing that. There is no undo. This is not a nice graphical user interface that, oh, you can put things into the recycling bin and then you can empty the recycling bin. And even if you empty the recycling bin, you can have a recovery system, right? There is no undo. It is gone forever. If you were a DBA, a database administrator, of course you would pull in a whole bunch of other tools. You would have database backups. You would have other things that you could undelete or that you could do, but that's all a manual process. These are not built into the basic SQL or a basic database, okay? We'll get to, there are things called soft deletes that we'll talk about later. That's probably a better approach anyway, right? So how are you going to get started at least with this class? No, you don't need to install your own SQL server. We're going to give you a server, right? To connect to it, what we're going to suggest is that you use MySQL Workbench. Do I have it up and running? Yes, I do. But I'm going to show you where to download it first. If you just Google it, MySQL Workbench. By the way, it's not the only one, but it's free and it works. So, I would suggest using it. If you want to use something else, that's fine. You can use Eclipse, by the way, if you want to. If you just search for it, the top hit will take me there. Then you can download now. Download it for your system. I'm on a Mac, so it'd be a DMG. And am I on ARM? No, nobody's on ARMs anymore. 64-bit, right? When was the last ARM chip made for Mac? Does anybody know?
The M series are all ARM-based.
Oh.
So it's the older ones are x86.
Oh, okay. Well, then mine's x86 because it's at least seven years old at this point. All right. So whatever you're going to do, download it there. Ignore anything like MySQL is owned by Oracle, and Oracle is a big giant company that likes selling stuff. MySQL is a product that they own, but they don't charge for it. It is free. Remember, free as in beer. It's not free as in open source. You're not actually going to connect to a MySQL instance. You're going to connect to a MariaDB instance. So what you're going to be seeing all over the place is that this is incompatible. Are you sure you want to continue? That's Oracle scaring you into trying to use their product rather than a free alternative. Yes, of course I want to. The first time that you connect, it's not going to look like this the first time you open it because I've already got these 4 connections set up. So you're going to have to set up a connection here, hit the plus button, name it whatever you want, CSCE or Neuros or whatever, right? You are not going to be connecting to your computer. That's the local host. If you want to install your own SQL server, go ahead. Be my guest. It's free. You can do it, and you can be your own administrator, right? But I'm not going to be able to provide troubleshooting on that front. Instead, you're going to be connecting to neuros.unl.edu. Don't change the port. That's the standard MySQL port. Crossing my fingers here because as of a month ago, they screwed us up. They screwed us. ITS has started blocking 3306 off campus. So I don't know if that's the case anymore. They were supposed to fix it. It had been fixed all last year, and then they started doing it again. And every year we have to tell them, don't do that. People are going to be connecting to MySQL. So if you are if you're on campus, you're fine. If you're using a VPN, you're fine. But if you're off campus and not using a VPN, let me know if it's not working. It wasn't working for me as of like 3 months ago. You are not root, you are you, I am me, right? So you're going to be using the same login as your Canvas credentials. However, you will not be using the same password. I'm not going to enter I could save that if I wanted to. I don't want to, but the first time that you enter, you're going to be prompted for the password. The password will be sent to you sometime this week via email, okay? I already put in the ticket to send it out to everybody. It's just going to be this randomly generated password. Don't change it. Don't use it for anything else. If you do change it, I can show you how, but if you're really interested. But otherwise, don't treat that as a sensitive password, and don't treat any sensitive password for your MySQL database, because we'll be able to see it eventually in your code. And if you're working with a partner, they'll be able to see it. So don't use a personal password. Just use the random generated one that we send you. Right? Otherwise, you can double click on this, and you will be taken to a query interface like this. Okay? All right, so to review everything I just said, you will have access to a database on the Neuros server. Right? Your password will be sent to you. Should be sent this week, right? Do not use that password for anything else. And if you change your password, don't use something that's sensitive. We will eventually see it. Your partner will eventually see it, etc. Right? If you lose it or you need to change it, right, then you've got maybe a 24-hour to 48-hour wait, because you're going to have to email manager@csc.unl.edu. They are the only ones that can reset it. I can't reset it. The help center can't reset it. Only manager at CSE can reset it. All right. So if you do lose it, don't lose it. Right. Otherwise, it might take them a while to get back to you. All right. All right. So let's talk about basic CRUD. All right. Or actually, getting started first. Getting started. All right. So your database is named your login. Now, I don't mean literally your login, and it's going to be your login, all right? So I can't tell you how many times we've seen stuff turned in with people just putting in your login as literally your login instead of they changed it to their login, right? So how do you use it, right? First of all, I'm going to use, here I can increase the size here. There we go. Use CBERC 3. All right. Oh, what are those? This is a good question. What are those again? Backticks, right? And I only have to use that because I've got a hyphen in here, right? It was brought to my, I think some people in here have a hyphen in their login, right? You're going to have to use backticks, right? If you don't have them, you can leave off the backticks, but I've got a hyphen in here, so I'm going to use it, right? By the way, what did I end my line with? Semicolon, right? I'm going to use my database. And do you see down at the bottom? Green check mark. Green means good. Red means bad, right? If I wanted to use a different database that didn't exist, that doesn't belong to me, nope, I'm not going to be able to do that, right? Red, X, means bad, right? Green means good, so use that, okay? I wonder what tables are already installed into this database. First of all, if you do show tables, right, it'll tell me, but you're not going to have any tables initially. We're going to talk about creating tables later on. For your lab next week and the following week, you're going to be given an albums database that you copy, paste, and then you run the script to install it. Right? We've already got an availability table, game table, platform table, and publisher table, which is this database right here. Right? Okay. Usability. Right? If you want to, I've been doing quick keys this entire time, but if you want to execute the entire script, you can click this button up here, this lightning button, right? And it executes both of those things. Do you see that? Green and green. It executed both of those commands. If you only want to execute the one that you're currently hovering over, then it's the lightning with an eye on it, right? There we go, right? And it'll only execute that one. If you ever need to, you can go ahead and clear this out by right-clicking clear, right? Your quick keys on this are going to be, I'm on a Mac, so this is a command. I'm sure that it's probably control on a Windows machine. Hold that down, hit enter, and it'll do that one command. If you hold down the shift and command and enter, it does the entire thing. So you'll see me doing that all over the place because it's way easier and faster than going up and clicking a button. Right? Okay, so there are the tables in there, okay? Actually, I'll leave that in there. Show the tables that exist. Right? You always have to make sure that you're starting out with use your database though, because otherwise you're not using any database, right? Okay. All right, so that's how you can get started. Now let's talk about basic CUD, right? I'm leaving out the R for now. I'll preview it as we go along here. But the R is much more complicated because it has so many more things that you can do with it. Putting stuff into the database, there's really only one way to do it. Pulling stuff out, you can do all this database magic that you're combining things and joining things together. So that's going to take, we're going to get to that eventually, right? So let's start out with, let's see, creating records. All right, so let's say create records. So we'll go insert, okay? And let me come over here and creating records. So I'm going to insert into, let's go ahead and go with the game table up here first. I'm going to insert into game values. Oh, actually, I need to specify the columns here. So I'll leave that as a placeholder and then we'll come back to it. Columns, values, and then my values in here, okay? Don't want to save. So I now need to specify the columns over here. Now, if I look at the table, the game table, there are 3 columns that I could specify. The first one is a primary key. Key management is a very difficult problem, right? We're going to let the database handle it because that's why we created databases to begin with, to do key management, to manage data and to manage keys, right? So I'm not going to specify game ID. I could if I wanted to. I'll show you how I can do that. Game ID, comma, name, publisher ID. Right? And I could just make up some value, say 1. However, there's already data in there. Do you think that's going to work if it's already taken? Remember what a primary key is? Let's come back up here. They uniquely identify elements. There's already something in there, right? So I can go ahead and do the rest of this. Give me a game name. Fortnite. Is that right? All right. And then who are they published? I don't know. We'll just make something out. Epic. Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll come back to that. Right. Insert into game. Will not work. Why? Duplicate entry 1 for primary key. Do you see down here the response? Red, and then you get a response error code here. Error code 1062. Duplicate entry 1 for primary. So let's just take a look and see what's in there already. Select everything from game. Right. Okay. And there's already a game called GTA 4 that has a primary key of 1. Can we use that again? No, right? I see that the maximum value is 26, right? Oh, I say what? No? Okay. So I see that the maximum value is 26. I could just go ahead and make something else up. 101, right? That'll work. I can do that. Except now that I've got a problem here. You said that it was made by Epic. Is Epic in my database? Epic? Question mark, question mark. Let's come up here and see if they are. Select everything from publisher. And note here that they are singular. It's not the games table, it is the game table. It's not the publishers table, it is the publisher table. Right? Select everything from publisher. Do you see Epic there? I don't. Okay. So what are we going to have to do? Let's come back over here to our diagram. A one-to-many relationship forms what's called a parent-child relationship. One parent can have many children here. Right? Publisher is the parent table, game is the child table. We don't want orphans in our database. This is what they're called, right? The orphaned records, where you've got a record in the child table, but there's no corresponding record in the parent table, right? Because who published it? I don't know. You can design databases that do allow orphan records. They are terrible, right? Because there is no data integrity at all, and I've seen plenty of them, right? Where they don't have any keys whatsoever, right? So the order here is that the parent has to exist before the child can exist. So if I'm going to do this, I have to create the publisher record first, right? So in this case, the publisher record must be inserted first. So insert into publisher. Now, what are the columns over here in the publisher table? ID, I'm going to let it handle it for me though, and the name. So you said Epic name, values, epic. Epic. There we go. I'll go with lowercase there. Oops, typo. Epic. I'll be even worse there. Okay. All right, that's intentional. We'll come back and fix it later on. I need to get some more real estate here. Maybe not so big. Can everybody still see that? Back? All right, good. All right. I'm going to execute that publisher insert first. Now, did it work? Well, it was green, so yes, it worked. Let's go ahead and check it out. Epic with a publisher ID of 17. Now I can put in 17 over here for Epic. There we go. And execute this. And green means good now. I've got my game record in there. I can show you that it was Fortnite by Epic way down there. All right, there we go. Okay. Great. There's an alternative way that I could have done this. Right? You can use subqueries to avoid hard-coded values. So, for example, Fortnite 2. Right? And by the way, I'm going to come back over here and not do the game ID. I'm just going to let it take care of it for me. Right? The reason that you might want to do that is for test data. Yes, I do want to hard code all of my primary keys because I want to use them later on in my join table or in my other tables as foreign keys, right? But only with test data. With all other data, you just let the database handle it for you, right? So insert into game. Instead of saying 17 here, I'm going to go to the next line, and I'm going to create another query here. Select publisher ID from publisher where name is equal to epic. There we go. We do have to match it, even including the misspelling there. Right? And that'll work equally as well too. Right? So Fortnite 2. Now I've got both Fortnite and Fortnite 2 there, 17 and 17. Right? Sorry, there is no way for me to increase the size of this thing right here. I can't zoom in on that. Okay. By the way, another trick here with your using MySQL Workbench or any IDE for that matter, you'll see that the last one here is null. That's because you could add values there. 103, Fortnite 3, and 17. Right? There we go. Now that does not change my database. Right? What I would have to do is I would have to close this, and you can do a bunch of other cool stuff up here if you really want to. I'm going to close this, and it's going to say, do you want to apply that change? And I do. Right? It'll tell me, this is the code that I'm about to execute. Are you sure? Yeah, go ahead and apply it. It executed fine, green, close. And you'll see now that they've got 3 games in there. So you can do it interactively if you want to, Fortnite 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Or you can do it through pure SQL, like we're doing right here. Okay? You can insert multiple records. Right? So insert into game, name, publisher ID. And by the way, it's highlighting name there because name is a keyword, but the way that I'm using it, it is not treated as a keyword. Values. And then I'll go to the next line here because I just like to align everything up. Right? Has Epic done anything else? What?
I don't know if they made it, but they own Rocket. Yeah.
Rocket League, you said? We'll say Rocket League 2. All right. And they were all published by Epic, which is 17 and 17. Right. So do you see what I did there? I am encapsulating each record inside of parentheses, comma, the next record. I could put as many records as I want in there. And green means go. Right. Are they all in there? Yep, Rocket League and Rocket League 2. Is there a Rocket League 2? No? Okay. It's not popular enough? I would have thought it was popular enough to have a sequel?
It's like live service. It's like
Okay, so they just update it. Okay. All right. Fine. All right, so that's the create. Update records. Right? In other words, the pre-existing record, I keep saving this, but I don't want to. Pre-existing records that need to be fixed. For example, we misspelled epic, right? So let me go ahead and update publisher, set name to be the correct spelling of epic, E-P-I-C, I think. Right? Now be careful. What's this going to do? Just read this in plain English. Update the publisher table. Set the name to be epic. That's going to be do all of them. Right? I'm confident that I can go ahead and do it though, because I'm in what's called safe mode. Red means no. Right? You are using safe update mode and you tried to update a table without a where clause on a key column. I'm not going to let you do this. You can shut off safe mode. I'm not going to show you how because I don't want to hear, I lost everything, right? No. Instead, I'm going to show you what to do correctly. Where publisher ID is equal to 17. I just want that one record done. Right? There we go. Now, I could have done something like this. This is a way of tricking it into not using safe mode, right? If it's greater than 0, then set them all. Nope, don't do that, right? All right. Now let's go ahead and check it out and make sure that it actually did it. There, now Epic is now restored. Right. By the way, did I have to change any records over here in the game table to fix the spelling of Epic? No, that's a publisher thing. It belongs in the publisher table, right? All of the publisher IDs that refer to that publisher, by transitivity, they're updated basically because that one record was updated, right? Awesome. That's create. We'll do retrieve. Update. What about destroy? Destroy records. Right? So delete publisher. Delete from publisher. Right? There. What's that going to do? Delete everything. But safe mode prevents me from doing that yet again. It saved me from myself. Delete from publisher where publisher ID is equal to 17. All right, safe mode is no longer an issue here, but is this going to work? No. Why? Come back to our diagram. Can I delete a publisher with children? What would those children end up being? Orphans. We don't want our orphaned records, right? So if you create it by publisher and then game, what do you have to do to reverse it? You have to delete all the games and then the publisher, right? I don't want to do that, right? But so order matters, right? Child records must be deleted before parent records. And I'm not going to do that one. I will delete a game here, though. Delete from game where, and then you can do it on any number of things. You could do it by name. Name is equal to Rocket League, right? There we go. I believe that does safe mode allow me to do that? No, safe mode does not allow me to do that. Fine. It has to be on a key column where game ID is equal to whatever game that was. I'd have to look it up, right? Rocket League is game 104, right? And 104. Execute that, and now it's gone. Game 104 is now gone, and you see that there's a gap between 103 and 105, right? 103 and 105. In fact, there's a huge gap from 26 over to 101. Why? Remember, I hard-coded that 101 value, so that sets internally the next key, right? Eventually, it'll wrap around, right? I believe that it's an unsigned 32-bit integer, and so it'll get about 4 billion or so, and then it'll wrap around to unused keys, right? But it will never, ever assign two key values to the same key value to two different records. Right? It could be signed. I don't think it's signed. I think it's unsigned. So you have about 4 billion records that you could make, right? All right, any questions on basic CUD without the retrieve? Right. And I cover those first because there's really only one way of doing them, right? SQL and SQL, there we go. All right, that's in your notes now, by the way, right? Okay. You delete from publisher and then safe mode keeps you doing it only one way. You update from publisher and safe mode keeps you doing it only one way. Inserting records, you can insert one record or you can insert multiple records, otherwise it's the same exact syntax. But the retrieval is completely different, right? Actually, let's make some observations first. That's in my notes, right? If you update or delete or without a where clause, it may affect every record in the table. Generally, safe mode will save you from this, but Java will not save you from this later on in the semester when you are doing SQL stuff in your Java code, right? When Java connects to a database, safe mode is not enabled by default, right? So your records will be gone, right? If you have a parent-child table, right, then the parent must exist before you can create any child records. Right? The children records must be deleted before the parent records, right? And just to remember and understand here that the parent is the one, the child is the many, right? So if you've got a one-to-many relationship, then it's a child, a parent. What about game versus availability? Who's the parent there between these two? The game, and then the child is the availability, right? Just like publisher, game, publisher is the parent, game is the child. And by the way, going from publisher to game to availability, the grandparent, right? You can say that, but it's not usual to say that, right? Okay. And the child has the foreign key. Okay, that's something else to remember. That the game table is the child here because it has the foreign key. If the other one had the foreign key, then the relationship would be reversed, right? And that's why this is the child of the game table. This is also the child of the platform table. Yes, you can have two parents in a database, right? You have 3, 4, 5 parents in a database. Right? Again, the only reason that we use this nomenclature is because we like hierarchies and we always go back to family trees, right? Just like parent-child of a UML diagram, inheritance. Right? Okay. All right, let me go ahead and get rid of all this since it's in your notes. Right? All right, let's talk about retrieve. Right? All right, so come over here. Basic retrieval. Retrieval. Is that how you spell it? Select everything from game, right? So the asterisk here is called a wildcard, is a wildcard. It matches all of the columns. It's not matching all the records, it's matching all the columns. And so if I execute this, I will get the game ID, the name, and the publisher all together, right? If you only want a subset of the columns, you can select a subset of columns by naming them, Select, I don't care about anything else except for the name, right? From game. There we go. And I'm only getting the name. The other two columns, they're not included. Why would you want, yeah, go ahead.
Why is it really not the first line of like the C-book thing?
Oh, because I already ran it once. I'm not running the entire script. I'm only running single commands using my shift key, right? But yeah, I mean, if this was your first time, you'd have to use that database. Every time you open it up, you'll have to use your database, right? So select name, you only get one. Now, why would you want to limit the number of columns? This is on a database server sitting over in, I believe now, Nebraska Hall, right? We're very close. We're not on a local network, but we're on the same network, right? If this were being sent halfway across the globe, right, and you are sending this data, wouldn't it be better to send only the data that you actually want, are interested in? Yes, because the bottleneck for computing is still I/O or networking, right? And if you don't need to send anything, then that stuff, then don't send it. If you want to select the game, the name, and the game ID from game, you can do that too. Right? Remember, the order was reversed by default, right? That's because of the way I designed my database. Game ID, name, publisher. Order doesn't matter. Columns order doesn't matter. Row order doesn't matter, right? SQL doesn't care about any of that stuff, okay? You can also alias any column. Right? So select name as title. Now, that's much better because I named it name intentionally because we're going to have problems later on that we're going to solve. But really, it should be title, right? If I were designing this database again, I would have called it title, right? And then comma, game ID, right? From game. There we go. And what is it up here? It's now called title, right? It's been aliased. That did not change my database. In the database, it's still called name, right? And if I went up here and I ran this again, I would get it that it's name, right? But if you want to alias it for the purpose of that report, you're producing reports basically. And if you're like old school, like 20, 30 years ago, have that report to me on my desk by the end of the day, right? What are they talking about? They're talking about running an SQL statement, and no manager is going to want to see game ID, so we're not going to include that in our report. And the title makes a lot more sense to pointy-haired manager than a name. So we'll go ahead and rename it that, right? White space generally doesn't matter either, but you see me aligning stuff. I don't want long queries, so I'm going to go ahead and align stuff up, okay? Another thing is stay modern, use all lowercase, right? So you can also go back, select everything from game. Now, the name of the table is case sensitive, but SQL query reserved words like select from, those are not case sensitive. So if you were to go back to, what was his name again? 1970, Edgar, what was it? Oh, where is it? I know who it is, but there, where, I thought it was in here. Fine, Cod. There we go, Edgar Cod, good old Ed. Right? If you were to go back to 1970 and you're employed at IBM, guess what color monitor you have? Green, right? Green screen or gray or something. You don't have color monitors, right? And so that's why they did this way back then, because they wanted to offset the keywords from the table names, the column names, etc. They wanted a visual cue of what was what. We don't live in 1970 anymore, right? Save your pinky from holding down the shift key the entire time, or from having to go to the caps lock on and off, on, off, on, off all the time, right? Stay modern. Use all lower camel casing. This is old school. Don't do that, right? I don't want to save. Should probably save, and so that I stop doing that. But anyway, let's see. Actually, the way that people would do this is maybe space over. There we go. There, and then from, this is another way of doing this, where all of the keywords are at one indentation level and then everything else is at a different indentation level. So there's another way of doing it. I don't know, is there an SQL beautifier? Yep, SQL formatter, beautifier. Let's see what they would have done. So let me grab, I don't know, this. And what are they going to do? Yep, they do it that way, right? So all of your keywords are at one indentation level, everything else is at a different indentation level. And what if I said as title? Right, there we go, yeah, like I did it. So you can use the beautifier, just be consistent about it. And there is no formatting like keyword in MySQL Workbench here, right? That looks nice, but you're just trading long horizontal lines for long vertical lines. Right? Okay. Let's see. You can also use aggregates. You can use aggregates. There we go. For example, select count of everything. Oops, star from games, or game, excuse me. Right. So what does that do? It tells me how many records are in that table. 29. That's an ugly, ugly column name though, right? Count with a parentheses and a star. So here's a perfect use case for aliases as number of games or titles. There we go. I like that better. Number of titles. Right. Cool. Another aggregate you can use is select min of publish year from availability. 1985. Let's go back over here. Remember that availability here has the its own primary key. It has its two foreign keys referencing those two tables up there, and then a publish year. Why is the publish year right here? Why did I do that? So think about a game, I don't know, GTA 5, that was published on PS5, right? But it was also published on PC. Did they necessarily have to be published in the same year? No, those PS5 users, they're going to have to wait a year or something. For GTA 6 is coming out. What is it? 6? All right. So it'll come out on PC this year, let's say. All right. But on PS5, no, they're going to have to wait because PS5 is underpowered. We're going to have to optimize it, and then they can have it next year. Right? So that publish year being in the join table means that this game was published on this system in this particular year, and it can be different for the combinations of the two. Right? The min tells me what? the oldest game I have is? Well, what's the newest game that I have? Oh, Max. Oops. 2011. Right? And you can kind of tell when I stop playing video games. Right? Okay. Most of them make me sick anyway. Right? Select AVG. And yet I teach a course on VR. I don't get into the VR. They just show it to me. Right? From availability. And that'll kind of tell you what my average gaming lifestyle was, right? My height was in 2000. If it's normally distributed, you could say that it's in the year 2000 because that is, AVG is average, right? Min, max, average. And by the way, you can do math. You can do math. Right? Select 8 times 5 minus 4 plus 3. All right, there we go. There's no tables involved there. All right, 39. So if you ever need a calculator, you can go ahead and just install your SQL server and go in and start doing some math there. Right? But the value there is that you can do math along with queries. So you could say select max of publish year, minus the min of publish year from availability. And what will that give you? A gaming lifestyle that spanned 26 years, right? That'll give you a range, right? Exactly, range. Right? And then you can multiply it by 10 if you want or something, right? By the way, you're going to eventually do this. You're eventually going to forget to hold down the shift key when you're going up to that star, which is over the 8, and you'll end up select 8 from publisher. What does that do? It selects 8, right? From all of your publishers. Those are all the publishers. I selected 8 for each one of them, and so I'm getting that many 8s, right? And so when you get something weird like that, you know that you did something wrong, and oops, forgot the shift key. All right. So, yeah, and then you can have where clauses. We'll cover that next time, though. Right? Remember, we'll meet a week from today. Right? And we're going to do a lot more stuff because, or not SQL. That's all. I'll put that all in the notes for now. You won't be doing database stuff until next week, Lab 7. And so we'll cover joins and more advanced select stuff on Monday. And then we'll get into database design and creation. Right? But otherwise, in Lab 7, you only have to interact with a pre-existing database. Okay. Something you should be aware of, too, is that Lab 7 is a little bit long. So you'll want to start on it, soon. Not soon, but, you're definitely this week. You're going to want to make sure that your password works. Don't wait until Wednesday of next week to find out, I can't install MySQL Workbench for some reason. Right? At least get MySQL Workbench working this week, and then you can worry about doing Lab 7 next week. All right. So, again, I'll see you on Monday.